Jeff, thank you for joining today. Particularly excited about this one because it's the first one ever that Chapter 2 Talent Ed has done live and in person post-COVID. It's nice to have a human being experience. Exactly. We were founded in the pandemic, and we've been doing these things on Zoom, and hopefully this is going to be a more regular thing. Really excited to have you on board because you've got a very unique set of skills and experience that you're going to bring to this podcast because of your background at LinkedIn and where you are at Talivest now. And as I've talked about before, this podcast is all about supporting and educating and having a bit of fun with people who are in our industry. It's a tough industry at the moment, and any insights, any stories that give people a little bit of a nudge in the right direction, or just that can help them affiliate with what they're going through, actually has been some really great feedback from our audience. So what I'd love to do is just, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me a bit about your time at LinkedIn and what you're doing and how you got to where you are today. I'd love to hear a bit about your story.
Yeah, and thank you for having me on the show. And it's great to be here in London, normally based out of Dublin, where I've lived for the last 12 years. My accent is from Toronto, in case anyone's wondering. I should also point out that I've left LinkedIn. I think my final day was in October, so nothing I'm going to say today represents that organization, and I now have my own organization called Talivest. But yeah, happy to talk about my time there. Yeah. It was an incredible journey. I had the opportunity to build out many teams around the world. I was employee number 7 in Dublin.
Wow.
And they're now 1,700 to 2,000.
Okay.
And so really, really great memories. But through that journey, I got to run some big teams and hire a lot of people, make plenty of mistakes, make a few good decisions as well. But after nearly a dozen years, it was time to move on and join what is being called the Great Resignation.
Yeah.
It was funny, as we were talking about the Great Resignation and you're reading these articles and seeing these posts, I was like, that sounds like me.
Yeah.
This pandemic just turned my life upside down. My wife and I, we left the city and moved to the country. And, when you strip your job down to just email and Zoom calls,
yeah,
it's a whole different animal. Like, it's still a great company, great products, great people, but I didn't realize how connected I was to the buzz of the office.
Right, okay.
And I had this emotional connection to the Dublin office because I felt like I built it myself.
You literally did. 7th employee, you built it, right? You're part of the fabric.
I helped Sharon McCooey, the country manager in Ireland, when she was looking at office locations, and I knew all the office managers and the security team and the caterers. And
amazing.
And you kind of walk into that place, and it was a short walk from my house, and it was like this, I'm never going to leave. Like, I remember being in that office, I'm going to be here until they have to remove me in my old age. And then again, you strip the job down to just laptop and Zoom calls, and you're like, is this really what I want to be doing for the amount of time that I'm doing every day? And then some things changed around the job itself, and I was like, and then, moving to the country, your cost of living is very low. And you're like, what's really important to me right now? What do I really want to be doing? My kids are at an amazing age.
How old are your kids?
So I just quit.
Do you know what? That reminds me of...
more or less.
Yeah, no, that's cool. It's just a really interesting point that you say, literally when you strip everything back to Zoom calls and literally Zoom calls and Microsoft, right? Because, that's what a lot of people do, or everyone's been doing recently. We've got a similar scenario that, we were founded in COVID, right? All of our employees were hired on Zoom calls and Zoom presentations, and I'm trying at Chapter 2 to build a culture and a sort of a bit of magic between the teams, and it's really hard when you're not there in person. So I'm interested to hear a little bit about the magic that made you stay for that long. So what was it? You're there from the very, very beginning. Is it the people? Is it the facilities? Is it the career journey, the development? What could you describe as the magic there?
Yeah, well, I think the people with a shared connection to the purpose, right? And this is why when companies are communicating to their team and to the market what they do, it's really important that they're very forthcoming and clear about what the purpose of why does this company exist?
Yeah.
And then the employees then share that connection, that by contributing to that purpose of that organization, they all have that in common.
Yeah.
The next thing is that just when you have an early stage tech company on an incredible trajectory, right? Like I joined before the IPO.
Oh, right, okay.
And actually, if Phil Watson's listening, I was interviewing Phil during the IPO. I stopped the interview to go watch Jeff Weiner and the exec team ring the bell. And
Wow.
and then you see that company go on to have an incredible, successful run, be acquired by Microsoft, and that actually continued the success and journey. So that's just exciting in itself.
Yeah.
Creates a lot of career opportunity for individuals to stretch themselves and take on a lot of assignments and projects, and also do quite well professionally. So there's a lot of excitement around that. And then you have the added fact that this is a tech company in Silicon Valley that's very competitive with the other big tech companies for being a great place to work.
Yeah.
So, they're like, we're actually on the same street as Google.
Right.
Or we used to be. There was an amazing long story about real estate that we had to swap with them and everything. But we're competing for engineering talent with Google, and then Facebook popped up, and then you got Apple just down the road. So where all these like free foods and massages and perks, like when you go to Silicon Valley and you actually look at it, it's these tech companies competing for the best engineering talent in a small space.
Kind of like Farringdon, but not as sexy, right?
Yeah. I won't get the London references. But
I think we're trying to build like Old Street, Farringdon kind of a region. LinkedIn offices is, I think, Farringdon next to Market Way, and you got the Googles and the Facebooks going in there. It's like, I think I prefer Silicon Valley personally.
So the battle for talent in Mountain View has spilled over to Dublin and London and Singapore and all these other places, and so all the perks and benefits that we enjoy is kind of started there,
right?
And is transformed into free food and lots of perks and benefits, and trying to create an experience where people really enjoy coming into work and being there.
Yeah. So what was your first job?
The first job
at LinkedIn.
At LinkedIn, my first job was to hire the first sales development team.
Okay.
So BDRs, people qualified.
Yeah.
So I started with that. That was the job I was doing at Salesforce in Dublin.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's the job that I had done at Oracle way back when. So
I saw in your profile. Yeah.
It's an area that I'm quite familiar with. So it was quite natural to come in there and do that for them.
Yeah.
But I also like the pressure of hiring the first 7 in an office.
Yeah.
I remember thinking to myself, like, it was only 18 months living in Dublin, but I knew I wanted diverse Irish talent.
Okay.
It was 2010.
Yeah.
So Dibs wasn't just something we all were focused on. But I knew that like Salesforce was very South Dublin.
Yep.
So at the very least, of these 7, I need at least one from North Dublin. I want some from the rural counties. So I got one from Donegal and obviously a couple from South Dublin, so that we'd have different accents. Mm-hmm. And then we scaled across EMEA, so we started to hire obviously different nationalities as well.
Yeah.
But that's my favorite thing about working there was most meetings you go to, each person was from a different country, different accent, different way of looking at everything. And we had 56 nationalities when I left.
Wow.
But from that first 7, that went well. We scaled that up. And then I made a pitch to my manager at the time that I could run the U.S. and the global team as well. There's some challenges around the world.
From Dublin?
From Dublin.
Okay.
My wife and I went over with our firstborn for 6 months in San Francisco on that assignment. But before I knew it, I had a team of 180.
Wow.
I was maybe 31 years old, and I had 180 and 22 managers reporting directly to me. I didn't even have time to add in the layer of management to manage the managers.
Wow.
And I was just literally flying around the world, setting up teams we took the Mountain View team, moved to San Francisco, New York, Chicago, Toronto, with Bangalore, Sao Paulo, Singapore, Sydney.
That's incredible.
It was just amazing and great fun.
I'm trying to empathize with that, but you've blown the roof off my career, basically.
I've heard your story's very similar, though.
Yeah, it is similar.
A big global team.
Yeah, we did, but not quite as big. I thought I was doing well until I met you. Put it that way.
Listen, a very fortunate situation, and just like I think sometimes people don't give enough credit to luck.
Yeah,
right?
fair.
Like there's a million people who could have done exactly what I did. I just happened to be fortunate enough to be contacted by a recruiter.
But what's it? But I've got this thing about luck, right? So luck is one thing, but I find it funny. The harder I work, the luckier I get. Because you're there for those opportunities, right? So you are present for the opportunities that come across you because you are present, doing the work, working hard, and people are aware of you. So what does it take? What are the sort of minerals it takes for somebody to come in, at 31 years old, have a 180 member team, and then grow a business to what it's become today? What are the main sort of, I don't know, values, work ethic that you've had to sort of maintain? Because this is not a short run. It's not a sprint, is it?
Yeah, thank you. It's a good point. And there are ways to create luck. All right. And like hard work creates luck. Accumulating knowledge, like a learning growth mindset where you're learning, furthering yourself with accreditations, like that will create luck for you, for sure, 100%. But there's additional things, and where my luck comes from, and the advice I would share would be like creating moments of serendipity where how you treated people in the past comes back to you really well. So, what landed me in that very lucky, fortunate situation was the story behind the story.
Yeah.
They were interviewing for this role, and they were talking to someone who worked with me at Salesforce, and it was very clear that person wasn't a fit for the role. And that person told the hiring manager, you should talk to Jeff Matthews. What's interesting is that person, not a great friend of mine, not someone I worked directly with, actually someone that I managed at Salesforce, that was his stakeholder. So he was a salesperson, and the BDR who reported to me would support him. And so what would have caused him, of all the people to put my name forward, is based on the impression that I gave him. So simple things like, number one, I give a shit. Like, when I show up to work, like I really want to do great work, and I want to build great teams and do a good job. Yeah. Right. Number two, like I invest in my team, my people, right? Definitely. And like I really care about them. So like whoever that person was working for me, who was supporting him, is telling him like, Jeff's a great manager. He's helping me, and he really cares, and he's driven. And then a number of like small things, like the power of micro interactions. Yeah. That you have, and you'll have hundreds and thousands of them throughout the day, right? Those are what create the lucky opportunities when someone's like, you should talk to that person, and it opens those doors.
Almost like, is it the butterfly effect, that type of thing? I don't know if that is even the right analogy. I told you how bad I am about analogies. I'm trying hard.
Please explain the butterfly.
Actually, I'm not going to do that because I can't. Oh dear.
Butterfly, it could be karma. Yeah. But I just think it's important that you just recognize that all those and I always tell, like, when I give people career advice early in career, something I copped onto early is that your big leaps in your career come from the people on your team, not your manager. Yeah. And so if you're putting on a facade for your manager may or may not see through it. Yeah. But the people who sit around you, back when we used to work in an office, but the people on your team, they're the ones who really matter. Yeah. They're the ones who are going to go on and say, that's the person we should bring in here. Yeah. And there's no fooling them. Yeah. And then even like after hours, you can go to the pub or whatever. If you're not a good person there and you're not creating a positive experience for your team members, they're not going to want to work with you again. They're not going to refer you. They're not going to recommend you. And so actually at one point, I have every talent model you've ever seen. Remember, we were building the LinkedIn learning business in LinkedIn, and we're scaling up very, very quickly. And you do have a lot of like helpful talent models and ways of looking at team, but I love simplicity, and I boiled it down to really simple concept for everyone. I said, look, there's two types of people on this team: those who are making it better, and other people. Right. And everyone has to have an honest conversation with themselves which one they are. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? And it's not about like your metrics and how you're performing. It's like, are you making the team better? Yeah. Like when you come into the office, back when we used to do those sorts of things, like, is the team like, yeah, you're there? Like when you go to the team meeting, is your team like, good, that person showed up? When your manager has your one-to-one with you, or they're like, oh, can't wait to talk to this person. It's been a great conversation. Yeah. But if your manager is dreading that one-to-one because you're just a difficult person to have a one-to-one with, and the team's like, oh gosh, this person's talking again, this is not going to be good. The people around you don't want to be around you. Yeah. So then for the managers, your job is quite simple. Try to help the people who are not making it better find a place where they can make other places better. Yep. And hire more people in to make it better. And away we go.
I think you're right. I loved your point around looking after people and creating that team ethos. Because when I was working internationally, I had this sort of theory that well, I've always gone by this, and I've taken this from Oliver into chapter 2, and I said this to all of our employees. I say, if you look after us, i.e. do your job well, we will look after you. That's as simple as it gets, right? And bring yourself into the job every day. We found that I was able to manage people who were 11,000 miles away just because of things like trust. Simple stuff, right? That people actually overlook. But because someone feels autonomous and you trust them to do a good job, they can do incredible things. And we had people build teams. I've got an amazing. I had this amazing employee in Jakarta. Her name was Miranda, and she today still calls me her boss. Right? I'm like, I left 2.5 years ago, Miranda. Like, we're mates. And one of the things that I've always prided myself on is like. Giving people careers is a massive motivation of mine, and it's funny that I do that as a business now, but actually as a job, giving people careers and giving them their own wealth creation and stuff, and giving them what they want out of life. And because I think I did a good job at that at Oliver, now in chapter 2, I'm looking to build out international companies. So I need to get to New York, open up New York, I need to get into Belgium. I'm looking in South Africa. We've got a team of 25 people now in South Africa. Because in my last chapter, in chapter 1, Oliver, I looked after people and gave people careers and trusted them. I've been able to just lean into this amazing network of people where I could phone up somebody based in Johannesburg and say, hey, look, I need to set up an operation. I need a bank account. I need payroll. I need an accountant. I need a lawyer. And all of a sudden they go, yeah, no worries, we got you. Yeah. Because you've had them in the past, So I genuinely believe there's this thing about looking after your teams and helping them thrive. So there's a couple of things I want to talk about, and we're talking about loads of stuff now, but just to compartmentalize some of this, LinkedIn, yes, a major part of the reason why we wanted to talk to you is obviously LinkedIn, but let's boil this back a little bit. You have scaled up tech businesses, which is a lot of our clients do, right? So take LinkedIn branding out of it. What do you think it takes to scale up a technology business? Because you've got so many different types of personalities, right? In a tech business, you have developers, you have your learning development people, you have your sales people. What does it look like in scaling up a technology business to you? And what learnings did you take from your time at LinkedIn and doing that?
Yeah, and even now in the startup world, scaling up So first and most important is prioritization, and when you're in growth mode, like you just listed a bunch of countries, and the world's your oyster, and you've got New York, and you've got Belgium, you've got South Africa, but you can't do it all tomorrow.
No.
So you got to figure out which one do you do first, do you next, and so it's the same with every part of every job, which is what one thing is going to create the most business impact. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I love about living in Ireland, where you have these teams that operate across all of Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and sometimes Latin America, is that prioritization of markets and which countries. So are you going to go after Germany or are you going to go after France? Mm-hmm. Both are incredible markets. Both have unique opportunities. Both have unique challenges. Yeah, and you can't just go willy-nilly into both of them. No. And so what most multinationals do is they kind of come into the UK with the same model they had in the US, and for the most part it works okay. They just need to add some U's and change some Z's to S's or other way around. Yeah. And there you go, right? And so that's why most of the multinationals are in the UK, but a lot of them just fall flat on their face when they get to Germany or France, and then they, yet alone all the other countries across Europe, Middle East. Middle East is a lot more favorable to international business. Yes. Yeah. And so it all comes down to at LinkedIn, we always had this 2x2 of size of opportunity over probability of success. Okay. So we'd hire a lot of former consultants, and this is the way the consulting mind would work, which is how big is the opportunity, and then what's the likelihood we're going to succeed. Right. So just look at Germany and France. Right. Yep. The German economy is bigger, so it's potentially a bigger opportunity. But based on your products and services, would you be more likely to succeed in Germany or France? Mm-hmm. And so based on those two dynamics, you kind of place them in the 2x2. Excellent. And then figure out actually our best opportunity is now, this market. Yeah, sure. Versus something like Netherlands might be a quick win, where it's a small country and you've got to do a little localization, hire some local language support. And where you go. So it's a smaller opportunity,
Yeah.
but high probability success. So that's
Right,
kind of
gotcha.
low hanging fruit.
And how did so just to get a visualize of your team in Dublin, because obviously your team wasn't just Dublin, it was international team. So how did you, first of all, find, engage on board and continue to motivate and keep the people working around you?
Yeah. So I had the luxury of a couple luxuries that I used to have. I don't necessarily.
Yeah.
One is just being a great employer brand.
Yeah.
Right. Like, do you want to come work at LinkedIn?
Yeah, it works, right?
There's a good response rate to that question. Two, an amazing talent acquisition team.
Okay.
And it was funny when I was scaling up the last business, I really saw the impact of recruiting. I had, you work with different recruiters over time, and depending on their bandwidth and their level of interest in what you're doing, you get mixed results. But when I was building up the LinkedIn Learning business, I got paired up with this amazing recruiter, Sinead, if you're listening, and she had this sourcer, Greg, and the two of them just like every single person I met, I could have hired,
Nice.
and they understood me and they understood the business. More importantly, they understood the business, and they found people who were connected to the mission and the vision and the purpose.
Yeah.
And so it was quite easy.
Yeah.
It wasn't a matter of like, should I, shouldn't I? It's more of like which one would be the best addition to this team right now?
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm curious, is it Sinead and
Greg
we're really good.
Yeah.
Chapter 2 are hiring. Sorry, had to get that in there. When you went out to market, obviously, so LinkedIn has many benefits to businesses, and one of the ones that tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people use this for recruitment and talent acquisition, but there's so many other benefits to it. Did these guys just use LinkedIn?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But is it just LinkedIn, or was it anything else? Did they?
Yeah, it was just LinkedIn, yeah. Not that there's not other ways you could do hiring.
Yeah.
That was the way we would do, yeah.
Because one of the things that I know about you is you've got quite a good personal brand. You had the Jeff cast, and that was something that I would imagine, and we're quite passionate about this, that actually attracted quite a lot of talent to you as a person, as the future manager, right? Because there's one thing a recruiter saying, come work for LinkedIn. Okay, great. They know so much about LinkedIn, but they don't know the person they're going to work for. It's just behind this massive banner that is LinkedIn. And are they going to get on with this guy? Is he inspiring me? Am I going to learn from him? And one of the things I thought was amazing that you do is that you push out your own content, and you have the Jeff cast, that people get to know the person they're going to work with. And when we go to our clients, right, and we say, right, okay, we're going to handle your talent acquisition for you and with you. There are a number of different layers to that. Yes, there is putting somebody in, give them a LinkedIn recruiter license and saying, off you go. That you may as well get a contractor in to do that, right? One of the things we believe is this whole ecosystem of talent acquisition consultancy, which is we will take a look at every touch point the candidate's going to take a look at. And one of the key areas that a lot of people neglect is you can have the most amazing career website and you can have a really good LinkedIn Live section, but actually, what do your hiring managers look like on LinkedIn? Because they're going to get looked at, and they're the ones that are going to be, once you've done the deal and they've come over, they're the ones that are going to look at every single day. And I think there's a massive area of importance that needs to be identified, which we're trying to do with our clients, which is when we take a Java developer to market, we will sit with the CTOs of that business and we will ask them if, because it is their real estate online, unfortunately. So the company can't dictate they change it, but they can influence them to change it. But we ask them to polish it up a little bit, and improve it, and make it the shop window in which people are going to look through to say, okay, I can work with that guy. I'm curious to ask how deep did it go for you? Were you even aware that you were doing this, or was it just because you were passionate about it, I guess?
Yeah, so there's employer brand at the company level, but then there's employer brand at the hiring manager level and the department head. Short answer, I'm very conscious of it.
Okay.
And that's why when you go to my LinkedIn profile, you'll see the jobs I do, but you'll also see some of the corporate social responsibility work that I do.
Right, okay, amazing.
Such as I've done many trips to developing countries, working with NGOs, and work I'm really passionate about there.
Yeah.
But then I'm also an aspiring drummer. My wife and I have played different rock bands, and so some people are going to connect with that. And so what I'm trying to do there as a manager, try to relate to as broad group as possible. I've also done a lot of work in diversity, inclusion, and belonging, in particular women.
Okay.
And this it's not necessarily evident on the profile. You probably see some of it on the profile and some of the things that I post and share and talk about, or even the way I communicate on the platform. But I just have a really strong track record of working with women, hiring, promoting, mentoring, sponsoring, women returning from parental leave, going on parental leave, just being a very supportive partner.
Yeah.
But this just all builds out to creating an incredible environment that people want to work for.
Yeah.
So that even if someone said like, okay, sure, I'd love to go work for LinkedIn. It's a great company.
Yeah.
Right, well, within there, where are you going to work?
Yeah.
It's like, well, who are you going to work for?
Yeah.
All right. And because there'll be little subcultures within the culture.
Yeah.
And then I had the fortune of working for this like startups within the startup. So I was running the LinkedIn Learning business, which was through an acquisition, a company we acquired, and later the Glint business through another acquisition. So I kind of had these little startups within the bigger startup within Microsoft. So like the small Russian doll and the big Russian doll.
Yeah.
And then I was working for a global leader who was very good at culture. And so when we'd go to Las Vegas for the global kickoff and there's 6,000 people and our team's maybe 600 people, like we'd all be dressed in these like flashy gold outfits and we'd just be having great fun. Proper, good, wholesome fun.
Yeah, amazing.
And the wholesome's an interesting word there. Like, I don't think we ever talk about this, but like if you're a nasty kind of like person partying on the dance floor and you're like chasing around your work, like, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like your brand as a hiring manager or leader is like gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're fun and you treat people really well and like all the people of different genders, sexualities, races, religion can feel comfortable that you're, have their interests in heart and that you can relate to them.
Yeah.
I think as someone who identifies as a straight white man, like we can get cast into a certain category of like pints in football. Yeah. Whichever kind of football you like.
Yeah.
And so whatever I can do to like say, no, that's not me, because it genuinely is not me.
Yeah.
I can hang out with those people for a little while, but I'm gonna get pretty bored pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so let's just broaden the spectrum and like all types of people, and then that's going to allow you to create an amazing team, and then they bring in more great people, and before you know it, you just got this amazing team around you, and they're just having a great time doing great work.
I think that's right. I mean, I've again, typical white straight guy, right? So I could get cast in the same way. I know nothing about football and can't hold a conversation at all when it comes to football. But I think one of the things that I've found to help me or us build Chapter 2 as a diverse team is just to be really curious about people's lives and worlds. And what better thing can you have in this massively diverse culture where like everybody's got different points of view that could challenge, add value? Who wants yes men? Because you're just going to get a one-dimensional business, right? You need this like group of people who can contribute to this aligned vision. As long as everybody's aligned to the same thing, right? They want to build that, you want to encourage and be curious and bring on board people who are going to come from a different perspective, right? And add value to that. I 100% agree with that. My last company, Oliver, have done a phenomenal job in building that business. Actually, they've done really, really well. So let's talk a bit about a lot of the listeners are going to want to talk about what is the secret sauce of LinkedIn, right? And I guess the way to put it is, I watched a Netflix documentary like about a year ago when we were all in lockdown, and it said it was something about, I think it's about social media, and it was about Gmail and stuff, and it said if you're not paying for it, you're considered a user, and you're the product. And social media platforms are the only sort of corporation or body that call their users as well as drugs and alcohol people, right? So it's like this sort of what I'm trying to get at is what does it look like from a social media point of view at LinkedIn, where you've got these people that you know are users, but they are products. Then you've got these recruitment people and employer brands that pay for LinkedIn. How does it work? Like, do you prioritize the people that pay for it? How does it? I want to peel back the curtain a little bit.
Yeah, and if you're just tuning in, once again, I no longer work for LinkedIn, but I'll give you my own external perspective now that I've come and gone. But of all the social platforms, it is one where the value transfer is the most transparent and obvious, in that they don't need to monetize your personal data, because there's so many ways to monetize the platform for companies such as yourself, like recruiters, right?
Yeah.
And that's the best example, which is, people go on LinkedIn, they share their professional credentials, and recruiters like yourself will pay to be able to contact them,
yes,
and advertise and influence them,
yeah,
and message them, etc. And so that obviously helps your business. It helps you help your clients.
Yeah.
And then the individual, they don't mind getting the message and from a recruiter. And I'll tell a funny story early on, because when LinkedIn started off as a member-only platform, a little bit of advertising for monetization, and then the first product line they launched was a recruiting platform.
Yeah.
And it's very important to know that the number one value for the company is those members, the non-paying members, to answer your question directly.
Yeah.
And you get premium subscription. They pay a bit more to do a bit more. But ultimately, the millions of people who use the platform on a daily basis to do their work is what's most important.
Okay.
And so there's a hypothesis early on, and I don't know if I'll get in trouble for sharing this, but that some of the recruitment agencies might be deteriorating the experience.
Okay.
And so we got to be careful about selling too much to the recruitment agencies in particular. And I'm conscious that there's more agencies within 2 miles of this location than all of Europe combined. So, and some of them might actually create a negative experience on the platform.
Yeah.
However, this is why it's important to use data to validate assumptions. When you look at just the data, and it was very obvious, and some clever person figured this out, the response rate to in-mails and who's responding to messages. And what we saw was that members were just as likely, if not more likely, to respond to an in-mail that came from a recruiter than from an in-house recruiter in a company.
More likely
from
a recruiter.
Yeah.
Really?
So if the hypothesis was that recruiters would create noise and deteriorate the experience, right, you would see lower response rates.
Yeah.
But if people are responding, that means the recruiter is actually doing their homework, looking at their profile and figuring out, what, this person, given the level they're at, how long they've been there, given the opportunity that I'm recruiting for, there's a good likelihood they're going to respond.
Yeah.
So that whatever that hypothesis, the hypothesis came from anecdotal feedback of people just saying, oh, I'm being harassed by recruiters on LinkedIn. First of all, what an arrogant thing to say, right? Oh, you poor thing. Right?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Just kick back, and then finally you'll just take your dream job when it comes to
it.
Right? So the reality, all you have to do is look at the response rate. And then there's some tweaks to the platform over the years and some changes where, and there's a really interesting change a few years ago where we'd reward responses.
Okay.
So before we were building, I think it was you'd have to pay if they responded.
Okay.
Well, that was an inverse reaction to what you want to have happen. Then recruiters were sending messages don't respond to this email. Call me or email me here. And not that you ever did that, but
no.
Some people in your field did. So no, that's not what we want. We want people
interacting.
So that way you're being very selective with who you're contacting, because if people are getting relevant interests, relevant job targeted to them, it's great value to those members.
Yes. And maybe you can help me. This is a personal thing to dispel maybe a couple of myths. Dwell time, I've seen people try to really mess with dwell time. I saw one example, and I thought this was quite clever, but you might think this is
dwell time.
Dwell time, yeah. So how long someone dwells on a post.
Okay.
Right. So so I heard that if someone dwells on a post on LinkedIn, and you might not know this, but this is just a curious question for me. If someone dwells on a post for a period of time, LinkedIn recognizes that post as, people find this interesting, and it gets pumped up the algorithms, and they get rewarded because people find this interesting. I want to know if that's a myth or a real thing. I don't know, right? The fact you never heard of it tells me it might be a myth.
What does mean? I'm the dark arts of what is that, stuff
social
becoming
media,
viral
basically.
is I don't know. So I wasn't involved in that part of
Yeah.
the business. My own hypothesis, though, for people who do want to see more interaction, is that like first few seconds, what happens to your post? So my hypothesis, only my own guess on how they do it, would be the ratio of viewing to like and comments.
Yeah.
So if you put something up on the platform, on any platform, and let's say 100 people see it and no one likes it, it's probably going to get buried.
Yeah.
100 people see it and 5 people like it versus 100 people see it and 10 people like it, or one person like. So that would indicate to the algorithm and AI, if you're listening, that this is something that's interesting. So my own tricks are like I know where my followers are. I kind of have my European followers or like connections, my network, and then I have my California, US. So if I post early afternoon, and I think Wednesday's supposedly the best day to post, but like Tuesday or Wednesday, and I get that first bump from the European crowd, and then the US audience is getting out of bed. I've got people on the East Coast, being from Toronto all the way to California. And then they roll over, and the first thing they do is look at LinkedIn, obviously. And then they start liking and posting, comment, and that would give me the best.
That's interesting. That's a good tip. The example I was going to give was on the dwell time. Have you ever heard of Where's Wally? So talk about, everyone's like gets this post like, oh, where's Wally? So they're standing there dwelling on this post trying to find Wally, and obviously they're thinking, oh well, people are dwelling on LinkedIn's going to push it up. So people are doing these things where like they interact with the thing for longer, things get pumped up. One of the tips that does work for us that we do, and I'll share this with the audience of this, is we've got these WhatsApp groups for certain hiring teams. So we in all of our in-house agencies that we build for our clients. Certain jobs will need a little bit more of a push out on social, and we have certain people who've signed up to an agreement that says if this post, LinkedIn post, gets dropped into a WhatsApp group, jump on it.
Yeah.
And so literally, I don't know, for example, one of our team, Brad, as an example, might be, working on Wayfair, and he would be, sponsoring and wanting to get a bit of a pump on one of our hiring managers. He would drop this in the group, and the commitment is, if you're in this group, you have to get on this. So the hiring, I think the hiring manager, who are these people just like, they don't even recognize from chapter 2, just like loving their post. But then it does then boost it because the number of views and likes, interactions goes straight up, and it works quite well. That was one of the tips we still use now.
Yeah, no, that works. And there's certain, like, if you get certain people on the platform to like or comment on something,
right,
then it really explodes.
Right. Okay.
It was funny. I had my first famous person. I'm very inactive on Twitter. But the first kind of semi-famous person liked something I put up on there, and all of a sudden I had, like, instead of having my usual like 7 reactions, I had 70. I was like,
wow,
whoa. So yeah, there's certain people on LinkedIn as well. So if you know influencers,
is it does that exist? Is it a thing?
Yeah, well, they're there, right?
Yeah.
And so if and they would have massive followings, and so if you can get them to reshare your post or like or comment on it. That kind of, but my 2 cents is like I spend a lot of time reading feeds. There's some stuff out there that just like annoys me. Like, it's just like.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
Oh gosh, I don't want to speak out of turn because like there's some of the category like it's not like an entire category, right? Like there's people post kind of like sentimental family moments.
Yeah,
I love some of them.
Yeah.
But some of them drive me nuts. So
Right.
it's not a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
But I can't not look at. I would dwell on it for a while, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, did that person? Are they really? And then why are they doing? I'm trying to figure like why are they sharing this with us? And like,
Yeah.
And I guess some of them like they're inspiring other, people with families or going through similar issues, and
Yeah.
so like this is cool. Like I really dig this.
Yeah.
But some of it, I'm like, are they just kind of like boasting and like. You just gotta be kind of it's hard to come across on the platform as humble,
Yeah.
curious, interested. But I like the human stuff. I did really well with a survey question a few months ago when the surveys first happened. But now it's
Okay,
like
they work. Yeah.
there's so many surveys, so people kind of killed that one.
Yeah.
Some of the questions. So I don't know. I don't think there's a real. I think just be human, be authentic.
You make me laugh because your pet. I'm gonna just call it your pet peeve is people putting maybe family stuff on there, whatever, right? Which is fine.
I've put family stuff on there, and I love some of the family stuff on there. I love some of the family stuff on there.
Like,
so
just before this podcast, I did a family post, so it's like, damn it, I know.
It's crazy. I have mental images of like I saw someone post this really cool photo of their like home desk with the little baby next to it.
Yeah,
I
okay.
loved it. Like I'm not hating on that stuff at all. Like I love it. Just some of it can come across though a bit pretentious.
Yeah, okay, got you.
But a lot of it comes across really kind of humbling.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't really.
There's this massive whole thing when COVID hit, wasn't it, where people were taking photos of their workstation, and I got bored of that. Frankly, I was like, look at my workstation. I don't care. I'll be honest. Like, I'll go. Like, I don't give a shit about your workstation. Like,
I think.
Sorry, I'm not gonna like it.
I think there's an opportunity probably on LinkedIn to post kind of some failures.
Yeah.
All right, and like some people like post something positioned as a failure, but it's not really a failure, right?
Yeah.
But like really just like these human moments where it's like, I don't feel
This
like,
is my desk.
I just don't feel like doing work today.
I didn't walk around behind people's desks going, that's a lovely desk. In the real life, before coming, that's a lovely desk. I never did that. Did you look at my desk? So anyway, I know people probably didn't share, their environments and stuff, and people share for different reasons. But that was one of mine.
Yeah, and the pet peeve with that, I think people lost touch with the fact that anyone who could earn a living from home through the pandemic is extremely fortunate.
Yeah,
and I don't think we've zoomed out far enough to appreciate that.
That's true.
And so like if you're posting like, look, I made this work at home with my work-life balance.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. What about the people that couldn't work because of government mandates and restrictions?
Yeah, exactly.
Or their industry was like wiped out
electricians
overnight.
or whatever, that sort of thing. Yeah.
All sorts of different people. And then like here you are like, oh, look, I was able to like get my second screen ergonomically correct, and so I can still like be on my Peloton while I'm like watching the webcast. Like,
yeah. Wow. That wouldn't get a like, definitely not. Oh, that's cool. So let's take a step back a second. So you've had this amazing sort of tech oriented career. It was Salesforce, LinkedIn, and now you're on to Talivest. Tell us a little bit about Talivest.
Yeah, so it's an Irish startup, female founded. Jane Ronayne, who actually today is becoming a mother for the first time.
Oh, amazing!
And her partner Laura Ballier, and it's a HR tech engagement platform.
Okay.
Looks at the employee experience from candidate before they join the company to after they've left. They become corporate alumni, and you can stay engaged with people after they've left. You're seeing for things like boomerang hires or other promotion. And so I've been following Jane for a while and spent lots of time with her and have invested in the company and advising from the wings, like living through her journey with the startup while I'm working for a big company, and then the stars aligned with her going on parental leave and me exiting LinkedIn, that I'd come in. I offered to come in as interim CEO.
Yeah.
But as we looked at the stage of the company and what was going on and met with some of the investors, like, no, just go at it. And so it's a great time to be joining as we're scaling up. And they've got an amazing platform product. We're competing head to head with these multi-billion-dollar valuations, and this little engine that could from Ireland is just going to blow them all out of the water. And it's really exciting, and I'm really fortunate for the opportunity to do it.
So let's get a bit more detail on the functionality. So it maps people from coming into the business all the way through to leaving, then alumni. So how, as a candidate, how would I interact with it? Yeah. How does it work?
So the most simplest way is just a survey platform.
Okay.
Right. So companies are trying to better understand their employees and what they're going through right now, why they're leaving the company, what's inspiring them to do their best work, how this work from home, flex working in the office, what's going on there. And they're seeing a lot of changes with their talent. So you're seeing in general, like companies asking their employees for feedback has been on the rise throughout the last couple of years.
Okay.
And that's where Talivest really started to pivot to that strategy from the corporate alumni strategy of helping companies engage with people who've left.
Yeah.
So the short answer is a survey. So the candidate experience, understanding that and the feedback from there to their onboarding, and to while they're there, things like pulse, energy, stay surveys, and then when they're leaving, running a proper exit process, exit surveys, and then even after they've gone, re-engaging with the alumni network as well.
Is it similar to, we used to use something called Peacon?
Yeah.
So something similar.
Yeah.
But I think it takes it about one step further, right? Because one thing that you really land on is the boomerang effect of this creating this alumni. That's a real USP, right? So just because somebody left your business doesn't mean, they hate you. It means that they want to move on to the next chapter, but that doesn't mean they can't come back. How does the system, how does the alumni work? How does it keep in touch with the candidates? Because I can understand from a business would buy into this. It would be a survey thing to test the temperature in various different stages of the candidate or employee life cycle. Get that, and then someone leaves. So does it continue do they get their personal email address? How does it work?
Yeah, so in the offboarding process, you would get the personal email address.
Right.
Some clients would have a landing page to join the community, the portal.
Yeah.
And then we literally build a community for the alumni to log in and interact with each other, access special promotions. So things like I'm LinkedIn alumni.
Yeah.
I could refer people to work there.
Yeah.
It's a great place to work, and so I could refer people, and they would probably offer me a gift card for doing such things.
Yeah.
I'm Salesforce alumni. I haven't heard from Mark Benioff in quite some time, but he could invite me to Dreamforce.
Yeah,
I could buy like an early bird pass, or when they're not launching their next cloud, he could send me like a sneak peek on this. I can give him product feedback.
Yeah.
I can now become a customer.
That's interesting.
It's something that now that people are seeing more and more attrition.
Yeah.
I've always been pushing companies to think more thoughtfully on people leaving.
Yeah.
It's something that I think a lot of business owners and leaders don't address.
No, they just look at the vacancy and how can they fill that seat, right?
Yeah, well, they look at the empty role
and
what they need that person to do and the work that needs to get done today.
Yeah.
I remember years ago I was talking to a room full of Irish CEOs, and my opening, which I don't know, it was provocative, but it was, all of your employees are going to leave. Every single one of your employees is going to leave. We know it. I have the data on the LinkedIn platform. We know they're going to leave. And they're like, well, we don't want them to leave. Well, make them stay. I was like, well, yes, there's things you can do so they stay longer. And because they're like, one of the things we also measure at Talivest is time to productivity.
Yeah.
And then how long those employees are productive for doing those roles. And these are the analytics that we can run with our clients. And so you do want them in that sweet spot doing the best work of their career for as long as possible.
Yeah.
But if you actually, and even you're building a business right now, challenge yourself to build your business around the concept that they're all going to leave.
Yeah.
What would you do differently?
That's a really interesting question. I don't know. I live in this world, and the team will empathize with this. I live in this world of what I call positive paranoia. So I think try to think positively about every negative event that could happen, so it doesn't happen. Or if it does happen, I'm prepared for it. I haven't thought about that one yet. So now you've created a new one for me.
well, the reason you haven't thought about it, if I had to guess and predict, is that you're 18 months into it.
Yeah.
You're opening offices around the world. Like, people aren't just going to leave right now, right? Like,
yeah.
The wave is just getting going.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's the same when we were building out LinkedIn, right? You don't leave when you're in that hyper growth trajectory, unless it's something really bizarre and unique, right?
Yeah, of course.
But there will become a time where, you might actually end up being really successful and the next big staffing company, and people are going to leave. And so if you were to, and this would just be on the spot feedback, to build your business around understanding what types of exits there are.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you got people who are going to leave to start their own company, right? Just as you start your own company, right? So you have people on that career trajectory. What sort of opportunities and training and can you provide them, or even financial support, or even support, right? Like, there's a good opportunity there to become frenemies. People to leave to become in-house recruiters. Maybe they're building their own desk to the agencies.
Yeah.
Maybe they like the idea of being the Google recruiter and or being full-time within a client. You can help on that trajectory. People who just maybe want to pivot into something completely left field,
Yeah.
completely unrelated,
Yeah.
get out of the recruitment game altogether.
Yeah.
And then there's probably other things to consider as well. And then when you're interviewing and you're hiring them, you're thinking, well, okay, we're really excited for you to come help us build chapter 2 of the vision. You're going to leave. We want to start working on your exit strategy now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I've never heard of that before. That's really, really cool.
No one ever thinks of it.
No.
It baffles me that like everyone leaves your company, but you don't actually.
Because people, it's almost taboo. People don't want to talk about it. They don't want to plant the idea in someone's head that you're going to leave. They almost want to like distract you until you realize yourself that you're going to leave. I don't know.
It's like a prenup for a wedding.
Yeah.
I don't have one because I'm never going to leave.
No, that's true.
Neither is she. So we're
good.
We don't need any of that.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. That's really interesting. And so Talivest is your next chapter, basically. Yep. And how's it going? Tell me a bit about it. How's it going?
It's going. So they had a really good year last year with their customers. All the customers renewed and grew.
Yeah.
So 100% retention and growth. The customers gave 83 NPS the last time we asked for feedback.
Decent. And
so the value we're providing for those customers and understanding what's going on in their business is going really well.
Yeah.
The next focus now is getting more customers.
Yeah.
Which is really fun for me, having 20 years in tech sales.
Yeah.
To do it with a startup.
Yeah.
Is exciting.
What's going to be your biggest learning curve coming into a startup from this amazing monster you've just left?
Oh gosh, everything. I love it. Like the learning is the right word. And the part where I feel a little stuck in the headlights is to do stuff.
Yeah.
Like I actually, like having worked in a company where you're surrounded by brilliant people,
yeah.
like the best of everything, right? So, and when you're leading a big team within a big company, you're actually not allowed to do anything.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can't just come in one day and be like, I'm gonna mess around with pricing. Like I don't think our pricing's right. I'm just gonna like update this, right?
Yeah.
Or like, I don't really like our logo. Maybe we should like change the
can.
lowercase I. No,
Yeah.
But in an 11-person company, like it's just like I think we should do this, and it's like, okay, well then just do it.
Yeah.
And it's really like you're actually doing stuff.
Yeah.
Even like our CRM is obviously a mess, as every company's is. And so I'm like, okay, well, there's some stuff I want to do in the CRM. What do we do? And it's like, oh, we go on Upwork and we have this admin and, so I have this call with the guy and all of a sudden he's like sharing screen and I'm like building out this new thing in our CRM system. And he's like, I say, so how does this work? He's like, well, I'm charging you right now on Upwork. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, this is good. Like you just like you're actually doing work.
You can get stuff done much quicker, can't you?
Yeah. But you got to be like, coming back to prioritization. You got to be getting the right stuff done.
Yeah.
So, a lot of what I'm doing with the team is really just trying to get, even though we're only a small team, if everyone's working on the same thing, we're gonna crush it.
Yeah.
But if engineering's building this and marketing's building that, and and our customers are asking for something else, we're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like a dragon boat with everyone paddling in a different direction. Like we've all just got to be focused on this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to create value. And this is how we're going to execute.
One of the things I find, and I think you just articulated it really well with the example, is when you're a startup or even a small to medium sized business, you can have a meeting in the morning and have it done by the afternoon.
Yeah.
The bigger a company gets, especially you have a meeting in the morning, it's an idea. You'll be 6 months before you see that thing sometimes. And obviously there is the exception to the idea, but like sometimes that was a dramatic example. But I love the fact that I can take a phone call, Sophie or Brad or the team, and they say, want to do this? I'm like, yeah, go do it. It's done. And then you just crack on, That's what I love about the startups. We hired, but then again, when getting used to the new world, I got a great story. When we were setting up the last business, Oliver, we had this lady working for us. She was from one of the big corporates, and we were early days, Oliver. Right, we were in a basement with desks made out of MDF and put together with nails, and that we hammered in. And she came out to my desk one day. She goes, "Oh, I need to put this in the post. Where do I put it?" I went, you put a stamp on it and you walk up to that red pillar box up the road and you put it in the post. And she's like, oh, right. I thought, don't do this, not a post tray or a post room. Like, no, you put a stamp on it, you walk out the road. It's just like, you're going to get it. You're from a big business. We both get it. Just it's a different pace, different environment.
Oh, I know there's, if any of my former teams listening to this right now, they're laugh pitching because I had this sales ops partner, Samir, and he's absolute genius.
Right.
And he's, building up that business where I'm like, I did all this. Like, no, like Samir and then we've got this biz ops team and Charlene, and she's just absolute genius. And so like I'm talking about like we prioritize the markets and here's how we do it. It's like, well, really we're like the work of the work, and then they had teams working for them that would also do the work of the work. And
it's a big infrastructure around them.
Yeah, and so it's very different when you don't have any of those people at all.
No, you just got to. I call it the JFDI. Just fucking do it.
Yeah,
That's what you got to do. Just JFDI.
And the other thing, like with the gig economy, that I've obviously heard about it and read about it, but now I like live on it, right? Like I got an email the other day from a company, and they make those little videos of explaining what you do.
Yep.
And I responded to them like, yep, can I get that in a week? No, I responded like, how much does that cost? I go, this month's great, let's do it. And then they're like, okay, well, we'll have a meeting and we'll write the script. Like, no, I'll just write the script. So I had a meeting with them yesterday, and I was like, great, how does this work? Like, we pay 50% now, 50% done. Like, great, well, we'll transfer that now. Like, just do it.
And done. Yeah.
But like the gig economy, like I don't have time to figure out like, well, maybe we can do that, or maybe I should meet with the two other vendors. Like, they've got a great rating on G2.
Yeah.
I've seen their work.
Yeah.
We need this. It's going to help us explain what we do.
Yeah, definitely. The gig economy has really, really taken off. I think there's two reasons for that, because people just want to get stuff done quicker. And a lot of people have gone freelance. And what companies also realized through the pandemic, they've cut their cost base significantly. And as we're coming back up, they don't want to create this fixed inelastic cost base so much. So they lean into the gig economy to get stuff done a little bit quicker. So yes, you could hire your own person to do this, but do you need them full time? You're not sure. So you just go to Upwork and do it. There are a lot of platforms out there that give people access to this sort of stuff. And I think one of the next, I don't know, maybe LinkedIn will come up with this, or maybe another company. Well, there's been a few of them where you can have super niched type platforms that you can, people can lean into and just go and get their resource, pay an afternoon of work instead of committing to them on salary, get it done, and then they move on to their next client. It's just super easy, right?
Yeah, and it's really great to help scale a company, and then it's also too that the opportunity cost, if you have someone working on something that's not really, like, they're not the best at it, and there's better things that they could be doing with their time. So it really helps. That's
cool. Well, so Jeff, thank you for your time. I genuinely want to say it's been a privilege to have you on. It's honestly, like, someone of your expertise scaling up tech businesses from a business like LinkedIn, going to do what you're doing today. Like, I wish you every success with Talivest. I think it's a great product, and we are going to look to introduce you to some of our clients as well, because I think really awesome product. If any of the listeners would like to get in touch directly to know a bit more about Talivest, I'm sure that they can reach out to you on LinkedIn. We'll tag you in our posts. But yeah, I just want to say from me, it's been great to see somebody in person for one of our podcasts. Thank you for your time. And also, thank you for this bottle of whiskey that you bought me. I think we should look to open that this evening.
Yeah, that's where I'm from in Wicklow, Glendalough. The owner or the creator of that whiskey is my neighbor. And he does a good job. They actually, you can get that in all the duty-free shops and the LCBO for those in Ontario. The little Irish, it's can't wait to get into that. But no, it's been great being on the show, and I'm grateful for you to introduce me to some of your clients, because I think there's a real opportunity to have this conversation. With these recruitment agencies that we've been talking about, like, when they hear about their clients losing employees, a lot of them would rub their hands together and say, well, how many do we need to go hire, right? But I think the way your approach, and I look at your website and it's talent solutions, so like, let's have a more robust discussion together.
Yeah.
Use the technology platform of Talivest to understand why are people leaving, and then also the candidate journey to the onboarding journey. And so I'm really looking forward to working with your team on having some of those conversations in the next couple of days. So
we'll do some exciting stuff. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Excellent. I think we're all good. We'll wrap it.